Good afternoon, everyone. Thank y'all for joining us for this month, the month of November's Lunch and Learn. I'm Shantae Smith, Development Director here at Still Creek Ranch, and I just want to thank you for joining us today. We hope to be 45 minutes to an hour long, not take up too much of your time, but have fun today going into all things Still Creek Christian Academy. Many of y'all maybe are on our mailing list, and with that mailing list, you probably saw in our newsletter, we were featured our teachers this last month in the month of September. And so, I would encourage anyone that wants to maybe see those updates and be on our mailing list to go to our website, stillcreekranch.org. You can click Get Involved, and down there's a monthly newsletter. You can view our newsletters on there. You can subscribe to receive them via email, or you can get them mailed to you directly. So with that being said, I would love to go to our school principal and introduce y'all to Mr. Chris Stockwell. Let's bring him in. How are you today, Chris?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing excellent. We are both right now out at Still Creek, just in our different offices. He's over in his office by the school, and I'm over in my office at the front office of the main entrance to Still Creek. So one of the cool things about technology. So Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be here at Still Creek.
Yeah, I grew up in Texas, and my dad was a youth minister at a church down in Houston, and his whole life he felt called to go be on the mission field and to serve in the former Soviet Union. And so when I was 11, left Texas and went to Ukraine, and I lived there for a total of 6 years, and just felt really strongly called to ministry. And so through lots of job changes and things like that, I finally found that my calling was my specific calling was in education. And I was up in Fort Worth and doing working on my master's for educational leadership and my principal certification, and had some good friends down here at Still Creek that were house parents. And my wife and family and I had come down and spent quite a bit of time here just visiting our friends. And as I was getting my principal certification, I said, well, I'm just going to check and see what's going on at Still Creek. And it turns out that there was an opening, and really prayed a lot about it, what it would mean to move my family and to come down and do this kind of ministry. And so we ended up taking the plunge, and it's been a really great experience.
So how many years, Chris, have you been here at Still Creek?
I'm in my third year as principal. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And so what are some of those changes over the years that you've kind of seen from being your 3 years?
Oh, man. Well, we have quite a few changes since COVID came on the scene, but even before that, just on the school side, I think things at Still Creek had been on an improvement track even before I came, just in terms of improving academics, improving the quality of education that the kids got, and unity and just organizational health, just improving a whole lot. But as 2.5 years ago, we came here, really focused on unity among our staff and across the organization. We have teachers and house parents here, and just how can we really leverage the fact that we do have one consolidated program, so that it's not, parents do what parents do at home, and then teachers do what teachers do at school, but really have a unified, concerted effort. We're already unified in purpose and in our faith, but to be able to offer a holistic approach in terms of education and therapy across the organization, I think that's been a really big thing. And then a lot of changes just in terms of culture and the way we do things. One thing that we're doing is we're really trying to develop leadership and a certain type of culture here among the students, and to that end, we've started doing some things that I think I'll talk about later. I think Shantae, you might have a slide later where I'll talk about our guards and captains and some things like that.
Excellent. Yes. And I think you have someone you're introducing to the broadcast now.
Oh, okay. So next I'd like to introduce Ashley Rotondo. Ashley is our student support coordinator, and she really comes in, make sure that we're supporting every student as well as we possibly can here. And that includes things like accommodations, or in some cases modifications, and just working with teachers to really help them give our kids everything that they need educationally when they get here. So without further ado, Ashley Rotondo.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I would just kind of echo what Chris said. Some of the students like to consider me and call me their school attorney, if you will, or school investigator. So it's my role here to kind of, when we get maybe a new student, that I'll dig through their paperwork and look at their previous school's documents and see, what were their strengths or struggles, or maybe some gaps that they have. And then I try to put together like maybe a summary for the teachers to know, like, okay, this is where this student has been. This is some of their needs. We like to assess them when they come to identify any areas where maybe there's been some gaps. A lot of our kids, go to many different schools, and so that makes it difficult to for their educational process. And so we will give them just some diagnostic assessments when they get here to kind of identify some gaps that we can fill. It's also part of my role to maybe put together an intervention program to help them close those gaps. Sometimes that's me being the interventionist and working with them, or it's me working with the teacher and helping the teacher to fill those gaps. If they do have an identified learning disability, then I would be the one to kind of see and come up with an accommodation to help that student access learning, to make sure that every student here is growing. That's our goal, is for us to meet every student where they're at and to get them to grow from there, wherever it is that they are. And then we will have regular meetings, just like public school, where we meet and we discuss and we collaborate. I think one thing that is unique with us is we get to pray before those meetings, and we get to ask God to show us each student and their unique learning style and all of those things. So yeah, I would just say that I'm blessed to be here. I love this ministry 100%. And it's very cool to be able to see and watch kids grow. It's cool for kids to maybe learn some of their own strengths and how to overcome some of their struggles. So yeah.
Thank you, Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about something like our core values at the ranch, and these extend from school to home and everywhere else. We put together a panel of house parents, students, and teachers and other staff, and we said, what really matters to us here to really focus on developing in ourselves and in our kids. And so the four things that we distilled it down to are honor, service, relationship, and self-discipline. And so at the beginning of the school year, the teachers got together and we came up with some possible symbols to reflect each of these principles, and we let the kids vote on which symbol would represent their group once we divided the kids up. And these guards are kind of like houses, if you're familiar with the Harry Potter franchise, kind of like houses, but since we're a therapeutic boarding school, when we say houses, it means something else. So we decided to call them guards. And and each guard has an elected captain that serves as a student leader. These captains, they come and have weekly meetings with the admin team at school, and sometimes they lead meetings in their guards, and they're going through a book called The Leader in Me. So we're really trying to be intentional about developing leadership and sharing responsibility with our kids. I think that one of the worst things that you can do when developing young people to be effective in their faith or in the world is to just have them be consumers, consumers of information, or consumers of Christian messages. I think that the kids have to be active participants, and even in ministry, the idea that their main responsibility would be to go to church and listen quietly and then not drink or cuss. It leaves a lot to be desired. So we really try to focus on making sure that the kids understand that they are ministers alongside of us, that their age is not a factor that should restrict them from seeing themselves as ministers alongside of us. And so to that end, we try to give them real opportunities to minister and to lead. And so that's really what the guards are about. It's about ushering in opportunities for the kids to really have a voice, to really lead, to make actual decisions that affect things at the school, and to begin to grow in their ability to influence others in the right way.
So Chris, Mr. Stockwell, I would love it if you could actually talk a little bit on the school side of kind of the electives and what our kids, with those guards, that's one thing that they get to do, but what additional activities do our kids get to do elective-wise at the school?
So our electives right now are art, performing arts, horses, so the equine program, ag mechanics, and athletics. And so we have some very very gifted teachers that do a great job teaching art and performing arts with a lot of passion, and those are definitely some fun subjects. We have athletics. We have boys basketball right now, and our young ladies who participate in athletics are joining some other schools, being able to play on their team. In some cases, we don't have enough girls to make a team just for our school, but they do have that opportunity elsewhere. As far as ag mechanics go, that's a lot of woodwork, a lot of metal work. Our boys have been making some cornhole boards. They've been making handmade outdoors knives and shaping the blades, heat treating the blades, and just building them out and finishing them. And we had one of our students who's on the screen right there make a really nice puukko that went up for auction in our Boots and Bling fundraiser this month. And just that young man is very passionate about doing that, and sees it as a potential way to create some money coming in for use in college and after high school graduation. So then on top, after Ag Mech, we also have, I didn't talk much about the horses, equine. We not only have horses, but we also have a stock horse team that, so our normal horses program is just basic riding skills and just being around the horses, taking care of the horses. That in itself can be really therapeutic for our kids. Teaches them a lot about overcoming fear, about caring for something else. It's just great in a lot of ways. But then the stock horse team is for our more advanced riders, and it's treated more like a sport. We have competitions with it, and our kids compete in that. And it's also just a great way to develop confidence and skills in our kids.
That is amazing. One of the things I love about our school program is that our kids do come from different backgrounds, and yet one of the constants we can make is that our school is not limited. We still have all of the activities that you would have in a normal school or classroom setting with electives and those types of things. So, Mr. Stockwell, speaking on electives, I know that this year we also added in some clubs. And so I'm going to jump off and bring that slide up. But I would love to kind of talk about those clubs and what our kids are doing. When do they meet? Those types of things.
Sure. So we have several clubs, and some of them teachers came up with and offered them to kids, and kids signed up for them. And then I think some of the clubs were actually created in collaboration with our students, suggesting what they like. We have the Finer Things Club, which if you were ever a fan of the show The Office, there was a Finer Things Club, and they would come in and dress fancy and talk about and do fancier things and talk about more cultured things like evaluating pieces of art, things like that. We have a sports club, which is some of it is just coming into the gym and playing sports, but there's also, I believe, a little bit of sports medicine might not be the right word, but just awareness of some of those things that you would expect like a sports manager to know. There's a broadcasting club, which is it's about broadcasting, television production, things like that. Dramatic Voices Club is one of our most heavily attended clubs, and it is an extension of our performing arts program for kids that maybe aren't in that as an elective, but they want to participate in like the upcoming theater production that we're working on, and things like that. So yeah, so our clubs meet on Friday. We have a designated period for clubs to meet on Friday, and I think that it's a time of the week that the kids really look forward to.
Yes, I was told that, I guess, Finer Things, I think their first meeting, they brought in desserts or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I made sure to attend that first meeting, knowing that the desserts were going to be provided. They were really good. Our girls baked some really good desserts.
Excellent. And not that I'm giving anything away, but anybody watching this spring, we're going to be rolling out a Still Creek great hometown baking show that is going to be a fun little virtual event that we'll be doing. So just a little sneak peek of something. And then Mr. Stockwell, I know that this last year there's been some additions to our school on the outside of it, from some bees and the greenhouse. Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, our science teacher, our high school and middle school science teacher is just always finding really awesome ways to expand the classroom outside of the four walls of her room and even of the building. And so she actually wrote last year for a grant for beekeeping, and we received it. And now we've got 2 different hives of bees in the field adjacent to our school. And so I'm not certain at this point all of the ways in which the students are going to be able to be involved, but we will be harvesting honey, studying the bees, and just having fun, learning about and taking care of them, and harvesting honey and things like that. The greenhouse is under construction, and hopefully we'll get it up in time to get our spring garden started before spring, so that when spring hits, we can move it outside of the greenhouse and into some raised beds. And just, to be honest, I don't know exactly what we're going to be growing, if it's more flower kind of stuff or vegetable kind of stuff, or a mixture. But I know that that's going to be a really cool way for kids to see things in the real world, and learn. And hopefully learn some valuable skills as well.
Yes. In coming to Still Creek, the first thing I learned were about our 3 core values here at Still Creek. James, I know all of our staff talks about those core values. We live by those core values. And number 1 is to teach our kids about the gospel and to make sure that they have an understanding of Christ and what Jesus's love can do for them, and does for them. 2 is to provide a great education to our kids, which today y'all are getting a glimpse of just a little portion of what our school does. But it's a big job that Mr. Stockwell handles with our teachers and our kids every day. And then 3 is instilling a good work ethic in our kids. Some of what we do is with kind of some TBRI training and things. Can you elaborate a little bit on TBRI?
Yes. So, man, I could probably talk for a really long time about all of that. So TBRI stands for Trust-Based Relational Intervention, and it is based on some research that suggests that trauma has a pretty big effect on the brain and how the brain works and how the brain responds differently than with people who have not undergone severe trauma or prolonged trauma. And so one of the key features of TBRI is just be curious, not furious. And one thing that a counselor told to our headmaster and that he's relayed to us and reminds us of often is all behavior makes sense in context. We don't have bad students here or bad kids here. We have kids who bad things have happened to, and whether they were abused, neglected, or abandoned, a lot of our kids found ways to cope with that trauma to get their needs met in ways that are not healthy for them in the long run. And so trust-based relational intervention is about helping students learn how to meet their needs in appropriate ways and in effective ways. And so, our goal at the school and our goal in the homes is really the same. We want our kids to go from crisis to new creation. We want our kids, when they leave here, to be connected to God and connected to others. And connecting well in relationship is a hard thing to learn how to do. I'd say it's hard no matter what level of trauma you may have experienced in your life. It's just hard. But especially when you come from trauma, building trust or even believing that you are important, that you matter enough to invest in yourself and to invest in relationships, those are some pretty big hurdles to overcome. So TBRI is about developing trust and helping kids learn how to meet their needs in effective ways that allow them to connect with others. So we want them to leave here connected with God, connected with others, and just effective in life, in skills and in just the ways that they tackle problems and solve them. And that's really a big drive for us, is helping kids be connected and effective.
Thank you. I do see that we had another guest join us, another teacher, staff member. And so, Mr. Stockwell, I'll let you introduce her as well.
All right. And I'd like to introduce Brenna Goodson. Brenna is our academic counselor. And I'll let her tell you about what she does. But she also teaches our elementary PE and our Spanish 1 and 2 classes. So she wears a lot of hats. And here's Brenna Goodson.
Hello. Like they said, my name is Brenna. I actually just got done with the elementary PE class. So some things, first thing to talk about is just health and fitness of our students. Kind of right now, I'm just doing the elementary PE, and I had a personal training class as well with a student. So kind of my goal with the PE kids is learning fundamental movements and skills. We're breaking each thing down by each sport. So we just wrapped up basketball, we're about to move to volleyball, and the goal is with these sports, looking at the fundamental skills. So for basketball, passing, shooting, dribbling, being able to teach them those skills so that once they get older, they have the basic skills to create a lifetime of fitness. That is the goal, is to be able to help them then want to, whenever they get older, go and increase in that wellness. So what that looks like is once they learn the skills, then maybe they get plugged into intramurals, or friends ask them, hey, do you want to go and do this activity? They're like, oh, I know how to do this. I participated in this before. And then also before each class, we do a fitness focus. So we'll do some type of activity that involves basic exercises like push-ups, sit-ups, squats, running, kind of get them into routine of warm-up and also knowing the basic exercises and making it fun for them, creating a fun environment for them so that fitness has a encouraging or fun mentality, something where like, oh, this is exciting, this is something good for us to do. And also breaking it down with each exercise movement, what muscles are being activated as well. So that's kind of the area of the health and fitness that we're doing with our students, just creating that foundation for future success, because as most of us know how important fitness is in the future, just for our overall health and being able to avoid things like unnecessary medical expenses because of choosing a healthy lifestyle. Another one of my roles, as Mr. Stockwell said, is academic counselor. So my huge thing and my huge passion is helping students with college and career readiness. So my goal, and I tell every student that comes in, my goal is once you walk that stage and graduate from Still Creek, you have some idea of where you're going to next. Not like you have to have your whole future planned out, but you have some idea of what the next step is. Right now, what we're working with that is, for example, our juniors and our senior, they are in dual credit through LeTourneau. They're doing online dual credit. So right now, for example, our senior that will be graduating, continuing dual credit, once he completes this year, he should have about 12 hours under his belt of college credit. So that's an exciting thing. They can already come in with 12 hours, not have to worry about those classes in college. And also, they don't have to pay for those classes. So that's something we're really working on with the LeTourneau students, getting that dual credit in there, because then they also have a little taste of what college classes look like. So they come in, they realize, oh, this is very different from high school. So not only getting them that credit, but preparing them for what's to come once they enroll in college, or once they go to college. And again, we have one senior. Right now, we're working with him of just getting as many scholarship applications filled out as possible and getting ready for that next step. So that's something I'm super passionate about with each student. When they walk in, we get to evaluate and look at what are we most interested in and what are the steps to get there. Also, all our students just recently took the SAT and PSAT, so we're waiting on those scores. And once I get those scores, we get to evaluate and look through things of what we need to work on to be able to improve those scores. So super excited for what our dual credit students are doing, super excited for the conversations that I've had with students, and helping them know that, hey, whatever you're excited about, whatever passions the Lord has put in your heart, let's look at how we can get there and how we can get to that next step, and just instilling in each of our students the desire that yes, you can go to college, and yes, you can find great careers, and let's see what are some giftings that the Lord has given you, and be able to use that to propel them, so once they're past Still Creek, they have an idea of where to go. So those are some exciting things that we're doing here at the ranch with college readiness.
All right. Thank you so much, Brenna.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you. You know, you've heard from 3 of our school staff today, and each of them have, of course, brought up about the gospel and the Bible and what the Lord's doing in our kids' lives. Mr. Stockwell, kind of elaborate a little bit on the Bible class and the curriculum that we have out at Still Creek. I think that is one of the things in our core values for Still Creek as a whole, is to teach that the gospel and the Bible, like I said, to provide that great education, and then thirdly, to instill work ethic in our kids. And so we've heard about how we're instilling that hard work ethic with the extracurriculars, with their academic counseling, all of those types of things. Of course, our homes also help them with that. Providing a great education. Obviously, y'all are doing that with everything y'all do at the school. And then, of course, adding in there the Bible class as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really important to us that that our kids, when they graduate, that they're able to effectively wield the Word of God in personal devotion, leading families and leading in their church and in the community. And so we want to equip them with the tools to be able to really do that well. So we've got a mandatory part of their core coursework are 4 Bible classes for the high school students. And the first year is Bible Survey. It's just a broad overview of what is the story of the Bible, what are key themes and elements. It's not super deep into theology. It's really just what is the message of the Bible, the big picture of the Bible. And that kind of sets the foundations for the other courses. After that, we have a semester of exegesis. So how do we actually connect to the times that the Bible was written in and understand what it meant in its original context to its original audience? And then we dive into core Christian doctrine on the essentials. What does the Bible teach us? The essentials to the Christian faith. What does the Bible teach us? What do we believe? Why do we believe it? And then the third year is apologetics. How do we provide a winsome answer for those who wonder about the hope that we have within us? There are just there are a lot of reasons that people might not either might disbelieve or just might not believe yet. And just this course is about equipping the kids to be able to go out and give a solid reason. Some of it is talking about faith in the current atmosphere of the faith versus science debate. Talking about faith in context of philosophy and worldviews that have emerged in the West in recent times, and then also just being winsome in the way that they present the reasons for their faith. The last year is a capstone course, and it's really kind of up to the students and their Bible teachers to design a project or some kind of proof of learning or some kind of ordeal where they basically are putting the rubber to the road and going out and finding a way to really apply their faith in a meaningful, tangible way, not just an academic, heady kind of way. So, but definitely getting the kids ready to wield the Word of God effectively is a big deal to us. I don't like the idea that our Christian academy would graduate students that just know how to flip open a Bible and cherry pick verses and not really understand how to apply it or not really understand what the Bible really teaches as a whole. So want them to be prepared and be effective in that as well.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, our questions are not working today on the comments coming through, but I can see them. I just can't seem to get them into the stream. So I'm going to just read them off and we can answer those the best we can. So one of the questions that was asked is, what have the challenges been adapting education for COVID, and how have y'all adapted to them?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, we've been sheltered from the effects of COVID in certain ways. We did have to go to an on. Are people still hear me? There we go. We did have to go to a model where our teachers were teaching from home and our kids were staying in the houses and accessing things, accessing their teachers through video chats and things like that. for a brief period of time last year. But so in terms of adapting, we have had to reduce staff a little bit, and we have had to bring in more online resources and have more things done on the computer. But we've really focused on trying to keep as much human interaction in the classroom as possible. And so a lot of times teachers, they might have a couple different grade levels in their classroom at a time, but finding ways to rotate them through so that they're still getting that direct instruction, that small group support from an individual who they love and trust and who's right there in front of them. So it's been different, but our kids have adapted well to it, and our student and our teachers have adapted well to it, and our education is just really, I don't think that the quality of our kids' education has suffered one bit because of COVID-19.
Yes. So another question we have here is, what grades do you offer and the ages?
So we start off with 4th grade. Our minimum intake age is 10. And we go from 4th grade all the way to 12th grade. Maximum intake age is 14, but once students get here, our goal is for them to stay with us until graduation.
Yes, and you know, one of the things on there too, I can definitely say, is we have kids that have been with us from ages of 10 years old, and they will complete, you know, high school with us and be here for those 8 years. And even afterwards, we have some of our alumni that come back and visit our students. And, you know, when they go to A&M or other trade schools around the area and stuff, we just love connecting with our alumni afterwards. Another question that came through is, what is a typical day like at the school?
Well, you know, I guess it kind of depends if you're talking about from a student perspective or from one of our perspectives. But we start off every day with chapel. We have a longer chapel on Friday, but chapel normally lasts about 15 minutes. And we start our day off with chapel, and we have teachers assigned to different days. And the teacher will present some kind of prompt. Often it's a scripture. But a teacher will present a prompt and also 3 questions. And so after the introduction of the prompt, what we're supposed to be thinking about, we break up into our 4 guards, and the staff are also divided up into those 4 guards. And then we just go around and discuss the 3 discussion questions and really dive into our personal experience with the topics being discussed. And it generates a lot of good self-reflection and a lot of good sharing. So that's how the day starts. We also do worship during chapel and pray. And then the students go to their classes. Right now we have a block schedule for middle school and high school. And so most of our classes are an hour and a half long, and they meet every other day. So the core classes are in the early part of the day, and then the kids come to lunch, and then they have maybe 1 or 2 more core classes depending on what grade level they're in, and then the end of the day until 2:20 is electives. And after 2:20, that's when we do athletics. If the kids are on the basketball team, usually basketball practice or getting ready to go to a game. We just got pigs in our 4-H for our 4-H and FFA program. And so our kids who have pigs go and take care of their pigs after school gets out. And then sometimes some of the boys will snag me, and when I'm able to, I go to the wood shop with them and help them work on some projects that they're trying to get done outside of class. So yeah, that's pretty much what a day looks like.
Yes. Another question we had is, how do I apply to have my grandchild go to school there?
Yeah, so on our website, and actually, Shantae, you might be better. I know that we have the application on our website, but maybe you wanna take this.
Yes, I can certainly do that. So with the application process, on our website, you can go to stillcreekranch.org and then /apply. There's also an area for students, education, any of those types of things. I will say that, again, our intake age is going to be 10 years old to 14 years of age. And so if your grandchild falls within those parameters, I would definitely recommend that you submit an application. From there, with the application process, we have a committee that our school principal, as well as some other staff members, are on that committee. They review the applications and decide if they would like to pursue forward with an interview. And so typically that takes about 2 to 3 weeks for us to get an interview scheduled. If an interview is we feel like Still Creek maybe isn't the right fit for the child, of course we will get back to you as soon as possible on that. And then from the interview, then we definitely want to talk further about the child's needs and how we can get y'all involved here. But we do not accept outside students for the school side of things, which is, I think, what kind of your question was. And then lastly, the last question that I see here is, what are some of the school's needs right now?
So I will say that one of our needs is that we have a need for technology for teachers. We do get some older technology donated, and then we're able to, through the local independent school district, also get some things for our students. But oftentimes we are working on some kind of slow machinery. And in our digital age, and as we've ramped up our dependence on digital access to learning programs, definitely technology is a need that we have.
Yes. Well, on that note, we are approaching the 45 minutes. And so I want to thank Mr. Stockwell for joining us today. Thank Ms. Goodson, as well as
I don't know.
Yes. Well, on that note, we are approaching the 45 minutes. And so I want to thank Mr. Stockwell for joining us today. Thank Ms.
Well, it looks like I might still be live.
Well, on that note, we are approaching the 45 minutes.
I'm going to go ahead and close out for Shantae. For anybody who is still on, thank you guys for participating and joining us today and asking questions. And feel free to look on our website and continue to reach out to us with any other questions that you have. Thank you for your interest in partnering with us to bring our kids from crisis to new creation.